Hello everyone online, hello everyone in person. Um, First of all, I'd just like to pay tribute to the Zen tradition. And the Zen tradition has a great, they invoke deities. We invoke the devas to help us. So this is one of my favorite deities from a monastery in Oregon. Let me see. So this is invocation of the great coffee protecting deva. It's true. The name of the deva is Arabica Javasattva. Om Java Java Ha. 9 times. Om Java Java Ha. The merits of our devoted practice are made possible by the beneficent power of coffee, without which we respectfully refuse to meditate. A wellspring of productivity, excitement, and ideas that seem really good at the time flows from our caffeinated hearts. Thank you for giving us a reason to get out of bed at 3:50 in the morning. Oh, coffee, may we always see with your clear focus, taste and smell your rich earthiness, and nevermore hear the gurgle of an empty carafe that someone left in the spot where the full carafes go, as we joyfully relinquish all of our attachments except this one together. Om Java Java Ha. So, but that's also the bodhisattva of humor, isn't it? Because if you take this stuff too seriously, you're not going to make it. So, I love it. Om Java Java. So let's see. But when you suffer, it is serious. It does hurt. So this teaching is a serious teaching. It's important, and you all know this, but to always remember that the teaching is sort of in two categories. There's the teaching on our social lives. So there's a teaching on morality and generosity, and then our own sense of justice, human rights, and so on and so forth. So that's at that level. But we're not talking at that level. We're talking at the level of stream of consciousness and a possibility of realizing a profound peace which isn't dependent on social situations. Having said that, social situations can be so destructive that it is impossible to do this work, right? So please keep that in mind. And I think we all know that, but it's worth remembering this isn't about like identity. Like if you say, what pronoun do you use? I use awareness as my pronoun, because it's not about a personal thing, right? It's about something that is transcending personality. And yet those issues are fine. And each of us will have a different take on it, a different take on made, a different take on whatever. And our basic guidelines are sila and dana, which are very, very general. And then each of us speaks to that in our own way, in our own communities. But here we're trying to, here we've set up a social dynamic which is moral, it's safe, it's generous, it's good, we're good people. So we have the freedom now to contemplate the stream of consciousness and to contemplate the deeper things of the Buddha's teaching, so the unconditioned, uncreated, unoriginated, and unformed. I wouldn't talk that way to someone who is starving in South Sudan, obviously. No, I try to get them some food. That's pretty obvious. So we're very fortunate. We're very, very fortunate to have this kind of opportunity. And I do think that these deeper contemplations take us into the world in a much, much better way. I think we can be much more compassion much more effective in whatever little power and resources we have. I certainly find that in my situation. Because if you don't, I think if you don't have that, for me, that inner meaning, which is beyond conventions, then it all just seems, you can get, I guess you get very cynical. You could, because it just seems relentless, the problems of the world. But if there is that inner meaning, and one can advocate or do work in whatever small ways, then there's a kind of energy there. There's a kind of strength there. Yeah, I can do this work because I have something which is beyond the difficulties that this work involves. So, I do a lot of so's, don't I? So, awareness, and what is the method of awareness? I would say the method of awareness is love. That's kind of a weird way of talking. And love is a kind of such a complex word and multi-layered word. A lot of people don't like to use it, but I like to use it. So we have metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha in Nepali. And this teaching is very optimistic. As for the human possibility, it's a very optimistic teaching, because it's, some people say, oh, it's really negative teaching, it's about suffering. No, it's about the end of suffering. If you only get the suffering part, you know, that's like the Buddha was depressed, or, that he was cynical. No, it's about the end of suffering. And the manifestation of the enlightened mind is what we call the Brahmaviharas: metta, loving kindness, karuna, compassion, mudita, joy, upekkha, peace. That is the result. It's not, when you read about like cessation of things, that's a very, very intellectual way of talking about these things. But when you think about the human experience of realization, it is imbued with love. It responds from love. That's its natural. That's the natural result. So it's nature, and I find that incredibly inspiring, very, very inspiring. So what is your again? I always kind of throw it back to you. What is your vision of this life? We obviously would like to be more loving people. We always, we'd like to be more joyous people. So how do I get from my frustrated, resentful mind to this sense of unlimited kindness and compassion? How do I get from A to B? And I think we all struggle with that. So there's the ideal of love and compassion, and then there's a reality of the latent tendencies of my own childhood, my own, the way I've evolved. And those latent tendencies come up, we call them anusaya, as sometimes greed, hatred, and delusion, sometimes as the Brahmaviharas. So obviously we're going to favor the Brahmaviharas, we're going to favor love, and somehow, what do we do with that other part? Well, going back to what I just said, that if awareness, the method of awareness is compassion, then awareness has to include everything. Doesn't mean that there's some kind of approval, but to come into that sense of true awareness, it seems to me, if I reject any part of the stream of consciousness, then that awareness is not whole, it's kind of broken. This is acceptable, but that's not acceptable. In terms of morality, yes, hurting someone is unacceptable. You can't do that, that's not right. But now we're talking about something which can be with the seemingly unacceptable and kind of hold it in a space, or know it in a space of compassion. And if you do that, then of course what manifests is no longer an individual problem. It is recognized, it is known, and it strengthens actually compassion. Because to accept into your own mind something that, like if you suffer from some kind of competitive jealousy, and then someone gets a better deal than you, and you should have got the better deal, and so on, and then that jealousy comes up into your mind, compassionate acceptance would be, oh, even this belongs. And oh, okay. So to actually hold that in the heart, in open awareness, is very difficult. Much rather get rid of it or blame myself or distract, but to actually just know it, oh, this is a feeling of wanting to hurt someone, say. Ooh. But you don't do it, obviously. You don't do it. You have boundaries, but you feel that and you allow it. When you allow it, its power begins to just dissipate. And that's one of the ideas that we have around things ceasing. Consciousness doesn't cease. And that openness doesn't cease. And that's what we're kind of moving towards. So when is that so word again? I've been trying to work on so. But I don't think I'm going to get it this lifetime. Therefore. Therefore. And they go, and becoming self-conscious, noticing like the suggestion on body awareness for yoga nidra or for sitting. What was I suggesting there? Just suggesting an open awareness to the way things are, rather than a kind of focusing on the body. Knowing it, localizing attention, but not just kind of zeroing in on something. So the attention is open and welcoming. And that welcoming to me is what metta or love or compassion are pointing to, a kind of openness of acceptance. Lompo Sumedo calls it a relaxed attention. He uses the word relaxed a lot, open attention. But the habit is then it closed down. And where that habit is known very viscerally is in your brain. So when I worry, the tension is here. It's in the eyes and in the forehead, and it's generated through thought and instigated by memory. And the memory is kind of habitual, triggered by something. So if one's awareness now becomes more astute, more in the moment of the body, in this kind of whole body awareness way, then as attention is caught by thinking worry, thinking resentment, thinking negativity, thinking self-disparagement, it's more and more known as a bodily experience, not just a intellectual storyline, but as a bodily experience which is tension. And in a noticing of that, what happens is that holding is seen to be not relaxed, obviously not relaxed. And there's a kind of intuition and insight, no, just relax, it's like this. And then the attention tends to kind of come down to here. And this has a chance to come alive. The heart, the guts, the horror, especially around fear. You know, when fear is a kind of motivating, a generator of thought and a generator of worry, and it's only held in thinking, and then it's tried to resolve through thinking, you never really resolve it. It's just one worry creates another. Planning is different. You know, like intelligent planning about how to deal with the problem is different than worry. And worry, I would say, is driven by fear. Now, sometimes it's good to be afraid. Like the bear is coming at you. You don't want to go, oh, I love you. Because the bear probably won't be in the same practice as you. So, I'm just being silly, but so there is a place for fear and so on. But so much of our personalities are driven by things like fear, underlying. Now, if there is more and more body awareness, and attention is understands and accepts this tension, and there is a learning of going away from the narrative to the body. We all know that. It's very hard to do. Away from the narrative, not by rejecting thinking, but by just saying, worry feels like this. And that's an opening of the mind. Whereas attachment to worry is, what am I going to do? And gosh, I really should stop worrying. And that's the same thing. So then there's a relaxing and opening. And then as the tension here is relaxed, then I find that more and more the natural response tends to be from here. And with fear, it tends to be an opening of the whole breath channel. Quite often a lot of yawning. The throat begins to open up. A lot of yawn. I've done a lot of yawning in my life. And the whole thing just starts to open up. And the tension in the hara, oh God, there's breath going on there. This movement down. This is alive. The whole thing becomes more and more alive. And that is done through suggestion. Right? There's a suggestion about that. But then it's done through observation. And the observation is like a welcoming. What's this about? What's it behind the thinking? What's before the thinking? So if it's really interesting watching yourself speak. It's quite a kind of anyway. If one understands the Four Noble Truths around craving, and that awareness driven by craving is not right awareness, it's wrong awareness, then you begin to imbue the very ideas of awareness with right thought. So samadhi leads to sammasankappa. Right understanding leads to right thinking. And then right thinking leads to right effort. And what would right thinking be in this case? For me, the language I use with a negative thing, non-resistance. It's like this. So the word non-resistance is my way as a kind of antidote to vibhava tanha, the desire to get rid of. Non-resistance. I think enemy is resisting this. I don't want this. Non-resistance. And then the other, non-becoming. Not going anywhere else. Not going to another state of mind. Not trying to achieve anything. Non-becoming. Non-resistance. Then if there is resistance, that word, it's like a mirror. Oh, there's resistance. No, non-resistance. So it's not a command. You will not resist Viradhammo. It's not that. It's a reflection. It's a reflection on helping me to understand the habits of attachment, the habits of attachment. Non-becoming. So, typically, as a monk, I'm supposed to get enlightened. That's the deal. You feed me, I get enlightened. And what's that? What's that about? Well, it's certainly not about the state of mind I have, so I better get rid of this one and get another one. Bhava tanha. And that is like, for a monk, that is so seductive. You hear about attainments, you read about great Kuba Ajahns, and you read their stories of enlightenment, you think, God, I'm a basket case. I'm not getting anywhere, and slowly. So, self-disparagement. But that's all attavada, that's all self-view. But the awakening, this is what incompetence feels like. This is what, because in the early years, most monks feel like they're total failures, right? Because they're working through a lot of garbage, a lot of untrained habits and so on. And the teacher says, no, hang in. 5 years, you'll feel a little bit better. 5 years? That's what Ajahn Chah said to me. Yeah, give it 5 years. So you imagine the commitment to kind of, and so you need a lot of trust and determination. And then sure enough, 5 years later, you feel a little bit better. Not because you've attained, because you've let go of the attachment to craving, the attachment to becoming. So when there is non-resistance, when there is non-becoming in the awareness, and not being lost in the conditions, then there's an openness, and then purification takes place. And that purification is the arising of latent tendencies and the non-grasping of them. And this is letting go, the non-attachment to them. But letting go doesn't mean that you don't. Like some people think, well, all this anger that's coming up, I should let go. No, the anger is natural. The letting go has to do with self-identity, not with the emotional content. Because, as I was saying yesterday, in a similar vein, if this anger was your fault, then tomorrow, don't get angry, right? Just don't do it. Good luck. Or don't be nervous. Or just be compassionate all the time. Of course, it doesn't work that way because it's not ours. It's natural. These are natural tendencies which have been conditioned through all kinds of different situations. So someone who has had a very difficult childhood, parents who have been very abusive, has very difficult work to do. Someone else maybe whose parents were more kind and more reflective maybe has less difficult work to do. But that's not guaranteed either. Maybe they got caught up in phenol or something. Fentanyl? You just don't know. But you have what you have. You have to deal with what you deal. So the willingness to awaken and open, and then to maybe, like, I'd like to do a meditation around the heart, around this chakra, and to become maybe, like, let's see, I've been doing a lot of weaving lately, so I look at everyone's wraps. I look at weaving structures, I look at carpets. So I'm not obsessed quite. But that's where my mind goes, because that's what I've been doing, correct? So in the same way, if you allow your attention to rest here, in meditation, just let it rest here in various ways, then because that's what you're doing, that's where your attention will incline. And then if the negative things come up, you will tend to remember this area more. And as the tension arises in thought and in the brain, you'll have more facility and skill in coming down and relaxing into the heart. Because you do it. And that's what training is about. That's what training is about. Okay? So let's do some meditation. Stretch your legs a bit if you'd like.